Hey y'all, don't do it. Don't touch that swipe button yet. Just want to let you know that there's a mostly complete parts list in the description if you hit that little arrow somewhere down there. Drop down tab, everything pretty much that I use in this build. So now you can go ahead and fast forward. Okay, for those of you still here, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up where we left off, which was firing that thing up. We're going to go over a couple of the small details that I finished up, some of it off camera, some of it on, but we're going to cover everything that has happened since then, good or bad, and hopefully wrap this video up with a test drive. So hopefully we can be daily in this thing soon. So stick around. Hey, before we get too busy in this episode, I want to address something real quick. A guy on Facebook, on one of the van pages, is doing a swap like this, and he made the comment that this series has been a little hard to follow, like what parts I'm using, what parts I'm not. That's kind of the opposite of what I wanted to do here. Wanted people to be able to kind of get a feel for what this swap is about, whether it's a whatever, Gen 2, 1, whatever, LS, or the Gen 4 like this one. I definitely don't want to come across as confusing, but what I'm doing here, especially in a build series, is basically essentially what hot rodding is back to the early days. It's where you have this vision in your head of an end result, but you don't know exactly what's going to be required, what parts you need, what you can't use. So filming a build series is complicated because until you've watched it till the end, you don't know how it's going to end. So this is what, 8 series. I started this build like 4 months ago, which is ridiculous, but that's the way it is. Don't have a whole lot of time. So there's no fix that I can think of for that other than to just don't start your build until you know where you're going with it. But that's just part of, doing something like this, is you don't know where you're going to wind up, what you're going to need until you're there. So, well, good morning, y'all. Morning for me anyways, on a Saturday. If you're tuning in to watch the old van, you're either going to be excited or sad, because this is probably going to be the last of the actual LS swap portion of this van video series. You're going to see a whole lot more of the van, obviously, but we're just pretty much done. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and put the face back on her, put the radiator in it, put the shroud on, finish the belts, or the hoses. It doesn't look like a belt. Give me a break, it's early in the morning. You know what I mean? Anyways, we're gonna button up the hoses. We're gonna put everything back on. All right, before we dive off too far into this little project, I have news. I've got stickers for the channel, 2 of them. Well, actually I got like 200 of them, but these 2 designs. One's got the red Buick, the 69 Skylark, and the other one's got the cab over. So, if you fellers want some of these, the first batch of stickers I have, I'm gonna give out for free. So, until they're gone, if you want some stickers, email me at that email address. Can you read that? It says brandoman1968@yahoo.com. If you email me at that address, send me your mailing address and your name, of course, and I guess which stickers you want. You want the red 69 Skylark or the cab over. And if you don't put anything, I'll just send you some of both. But till I run out of the first batch, free stickers. Stick them on your ride. And once you get done with that, you can take a picture of your ride with my sticker on it and send it back to me. Also, on the subject of shirts, my most loyal fans are getting some free ones, the guys that comment on stuff all the time. So I've already got the design done, like this one here, but like I told you, we're going through basically a test and tune on them. Like this shirt here looks great, but I've worn it probably 5 times, and the ink is cracking real bad. It's splitting. You probably can't see it, but it's got splits and wear in it that shouldn't be there quite yet. I'm gonna go ahead and put the clamp on it and give her a little bit of a tightening. I'm not gonna lock it down hard until I get the rest of the hose kind of built, radiator shroud in it, so I might need to move it a little bit. All right. Okay. Let's see. I think I'll start it right there. Ouch. Poked myself. Super excited about getting this thing kind of on the road. With the old compressor bearings going out, I really hadn't been able to enjoy driving this thing in probably at least a year, maybe longer than that. Every time I drove it, I was afraid the front end was going to come off the compressor. Well, it's me again. I had myself a zip tie party. Now I'm going to retch up in here and install these headlights. Cleaned them up, cleaned up the trim rings, sandblasted and painted the buckets. You'll remember the little vice grip trick. Excuse me, Lord of mercy. You'll remember the vice grip trick for installing these. I ordered some new of these adjusters, but they haven't come in yet, so if I'm lucky I can get these installed without breaking them. They're pretty fragile. Okay, now if that light will just hang there for 1.5 seconds without breaking, falling out, that'd be great. So I put the fan on there, cleaned it real good, and then put the new clutch on it. And I cocked this up just a little bit, just using the clamps. And she's got maybe 1/8 of an inch in there. So, I mean, it doesn't hit. This isn't particularly flexible. So, just going like that, I can't make it hit it. But I don't think I can get a boot on here, you know, for a filter. Now, I'm not dead set on this setup being just like this anyways. So, probably what's going to happen is I'll get like a silicone neck with just a little bit of a bend, maybe cut a 90 or a 45 where I can kind of get it up. However I want to do to get a filter on the thing, but for now this is going to work just fine. It's not going to hit. Looks pretty clean. Have to insert a before and after picture somewhere along in here. So at this point, what I'm going to start doing is just pulling all the spaghetti off this motor. I'm going to pull the plug wires off, pull the distributor cap off. Well, I guess it's time to put stuff on it. Let's see if I can remember how all this stuff goes. Like this little feller. Gotta tuck in here. Just let that lay there. Okay, now I'm gonna set the radiator in it. Oh man. Like I said, I just shot this thing with a real thin coat of radiator black paint. This is a tight squeeze. Let's see. Now to do it without scratching paint is the hard part. So far I haven't touched anything but my fingers. Okay. Ouch. Alright. It's in. And now the motor disappears. So from front of this compressor to the radiator is about maybe 11 inches. So, and from the end of this, maybe 7. So it's real tight. Well, this is the end result of my hose trimming. I got just a little tiny bit of the bell left on here, maybe 1/2 inch or so, just kind of help it slip over the LS water pump, and then cut a bunch off the end of there too. So this is what I got. Now I just got to put it in. You want help? Well, I almost had a boo-boo. Not like the show-stopping boo-boo, but like a, what'd you do that for, idiot? Kind of boo-boo. Come here, I'll show you. So, in doing the snip on my radiator hose there, I should have left about a ½ inch longer on both ends. So she's kind of back a little there and a little there, but I think it'll be just fine. Whenever, at my earliest convenience, I'll buy another one. Probably never, but anyways. Okay, so it's starting to get crowded in here real quick. I mean, you see my hand, or a fist. That ain't much room. So, next step, after I clean up some transmission fluid from my trans lines that I hooked up there and there, my next step, I think, is going to be to put the painted header panel in here. You know, the one that we painted last episode with the and all that stuff. So most of the fasteners for that I'm going to replace. Some I'm going to clean up. But that's my next step. I got to go dig all those parts out. So I'll bring you right back here shortly. Well, I called an audible on myself and decided to put this in first, because I might need a little bit of extra room to retch around there, especially over on this side, get back in there to get these bolts in. I was going to clean up the factory fasteners, but what do I care really about originality at this point? I mean, it's got a LS motor in it that's 30 years newer than it is, and fasteners I can replace anytime. I'll probably be taking this condenser out at some point in time and giving it a proper, you know, refinishing. It works, so at least I know it's got that going for it. Okay, this one here. And this is gonna have the AC, because I am not that kind of guy. Call me a sissy, whatever you want. I don't do it. Not me. I don't know how you boys out in the hotter parts of the world can do it. Guess you're just tough. You're just tough, man. Yeah, I'd take a 5-degree day any day over like a 95. I like cold weather. Hot weather, not so much. So I went and gave this thing a bath, and then I laid it out in the nice hot sun. Got it real warm. That way it's a little bit more flexy. These things get pretty brittle with the years. Fortunately, when this thing was built, they're still pretty good quality rubber, so they don't get as hard as new stuff. Nowadays, a 15-year-old part's hard as a rock. I think I'm gonna try to put the fan up from the bottom. Maybe. Might be an easier tactic. That was fun. It is way, way easier to stuff the fan in there from the bottom. It's pretty much wide open. Yeah, see, I'm gonna have to be dealing with that. This is gonna come back a little bit, but not a whole lot. You see, it's just barely underneath the edge of that. But it's starting to get tight, man. Look at that. But thankfully, you could see a little bit more of the LS than I figured you'd be able to. I don't know why I figured that, but see, using this factory fan shroud with this fan, I mean, the fan spins fine, doesn't hit anything. It's placed about where it needs to be. That's why I wanted to use the engine mounts that kept the engine basically where the old one was, because I wanted to use all this stuff and I didn't want to have to completely reconfigure everything in here. So that was my main decision with using those motor mounts, keeping the LS right where the 350 was. So, and I didn't take the transmission out, so whatever. All right, now that that's all kind of squared away, now I can get back to where I had originally said I was going to do a while ago, start putting all this stuff back in. I mean, we got to put our braces, the latch, the horns in there somewhere, the top plate, the little boop, boop, hold downs for the top of the radiator, fan shroud here. We need to cap that guy that originally went straight from there to there, but that's not necessary now that we got those hose connections. Originally, there was only one water neck on the engine that went from there to there, and the other one went straight from there to the radiator. But now we've got a true, typical one in, one out of the heater core, so that's just gonna get capped. Let's go ahead and start getting that in there. I fish this radiator hose out, kind of figure out what we're gonna do. See, this hose already has kind of that little curvature there, so that's gonna look pretty good, I think. My objective here is kind of make this swap more or less look factory. So other than having to figure out something with the air intake setup, this is gonna be a I think, pretty clean installation. So I'm currently working on putting the snoot back on this thing. I've got all these pieces in here. They're just loose. Still got to put the center latch and the brace here in, but I'm trying to get it pinned in. This thing's super tight. I mean, the fenders are welded in, so you can't really spread them. So just trying to be careful and not scratch my brand new paint. So now it's time for a little bit of jewelry. These panel vans, work vans, they didn't get a whole lot of shiny stuff compared to like the conversion vans. And I got a feeling the old vans, even the old panel vans like this one, are going to be having a surge in value, in popularity. Like they've just been, in my opinion, neglected since the 70s, the van craze of the 80s, all that time frame. Which is gonna kind of suck for the guy just wanting to buy one and enjoy it and fiddle with it. Like, for example, me. This van, I did get it from family, but this thing I paid $300 for, and I drove it home, which was like something like probably a 30-40 minute drive. So those days I think are long gone. But down here in the South, there's still a lot of solid vans pop up for sale all the time on Marketplace. Lots of them, mechanically are kind of tired, but what do you expect? I think the newest of this body style was like a 93 or 95? I think 95. I'm trying to remember when the next body style came out, the Express, I think they called it. I think it was 96 or 7. I think 95 was the last of this body style. Well, I made some minor fiberglass repairs to these headlight housings. They're very difficult to find these. There's a couple on eBay, but they're specific to the earlier vans. Like the spacing here is different, but anyways, I'm gonna put these dudes in real quick. We're pretty much, as far as taking this thing to the exhaust shop, we're pretty much down to getting these headlights in. As far as getting it ready to go to the exhaust shop, we're pretty much down to getting these running lamps in, and then putting the grill and trim rings on, figuring out the upper radiator hose situation, and pretty much ready to go. I do need to get under there and install the transmission vacuum modulator hose and pipe. I gotta find a vacuum source on this engine. It's got some ports right on the top of the intake, with just a snap-off tab that I think are gonna work fine. I know the people we bought it from, they had it for a long time. I know it never sat inside. That's just a typical work truck, They had one job, and that was to make their owners money. Let's see. Man, I am looking forward to getting this where I can get out and drive it and enjoy it. Like I said, it's been over a year since I've really been able to do anything with it. So probably one day this week I'm gonna run it. Today is Labor Day. Yes, I'm working. No better way to celebrate Labor Day than working. My poor wife. Maybe I'll take her to lunch in a while. One of these housings had 2 of the 3 mounting tabs broke off. I got them fiberglass back on, so I'm gonna order 1 replacement. This one's hazed real bad, split up. Probably sat on the sunny side of the carport. Well, as you can see, got the hood latch assembly in. I got the long radiator hose, which is about 4 feet long in. Comes up, around, and into there. Not super crazy about this splice right here in the middle, but what are you gonna do? They don't make a radiator hose for a Gen 4 LS and an 82 van, so that's gonna be what that'll be. Now I gotta come over to, sorry about that. This corner here, I gotta put this fella in. This is the overflow coolant reservoir deal. It tucks down in this corner here. Let's see, get my orientation right. With this thing in place, you can't get to the light harness or anything. It's not fun. Just the right angle. All right, there it goes. Then it has a little bracket there, as you can see here, which I ran through the sandblaster. So that goes, see, this way. Got little screws. My screwdriver. This little fella started. I appreciate y'all hanging out for this whole segment, video series, whatever you want to call it. You'll see a lot more of this van over the years. But as far as the LS segment, this just about to put a wrap on it. As long as the motor is good and she runs and drives and stops and does all that stuff. Okay, so that's gonna go there. Just gotta go and find 1 more fastener to go there. Zip this little guy onto the, let's see, the output tube there on the radiator. All right, I'm gonna go find a fastener and clamp that on there, and we'll call 1 more thing done. What do you say we finish putting the facer on her? Let's see. That should just go right up top. Again, this is one of them ones you're gonna wanna put them all in there a little loose. You're also going to want to just throw your ratchet on the floor right there. Let's see. Let's say these go here. I thought I had some chrome polish, but I do not, so have to shine this stuff all up. A later date. It's kind of dirty and crusty. Oh man, kind of like me. Anyways, at some point in time I'll pull this out and clean it and repaint it. For now it just kind of adds to the charm. That's what people say about patinaed out vehicles, you know. Adds to the charm. Alright, I'm going to probably have to get in here and slide some of these little connectors around, so I may not let you watch me put all of the screws in. I'll just put them in until I run into a problem, and then put the rest of them in off camera. At the end of this video, I want to be able to squeeze in a little bit of drive time, so I think that'll take precedence over watching me put the grill in it. What do you think? These are last up. go try to find a good set of one of these. These just kind of lay up over here and tuck up over this piece. Like so. It's been so long since you watched me take them off that I'm sure y'all's forgot how they went on. One thing that struck me as funny while working on this van is the build quality compared to like the same model year like Caprice Classic or Monte Carlo or whatever. Like these things obviously were meant for fleet use, you know, city water departments. I mean, they just throw it together. Stuff don't line up, who cares? So, makes it fun for guys trying to restore them. Oh man. Which there are actually people doing now. That's freaking awesome, seeing these things get some love. Wasn't too long ago, I'd get laughed out of the room for wanting to LS swap one of these. Okay, well, I'll put a couple more screws in this one, pop that other one in there, and we'll move on to cleaning the interior, which I'm not gonna make you watch that. So that's pretty much all we're gonna lack. Throw that in there. Once I get the other one in, I'll bring you along and we'll just do a real quick walk around what it all looks like up front, all buttoned up. So let's get after it. Well, she's got her teeth back in her. Give you a lot better walk around once we get the thing outside. Quite a difference than she was when we got her in here. What's funny is with the hood shut, I mean, she, other than maybe the wheels, she totally looks just like a kind of a tired old clapped out work van. And I guess her bones actually are, but I still have to figure out several things, like some kind of something there. Since, if you'll recall, we only got like 1/8 of an inch of clearance underneath the fan blades. I mean, it doesn't hit, but it's close. And the way this angle is, the shroud's in the way of putting anything on there. But overall, I think it's pretty cool. Turned out pretty good in my opinion. What do y'all think? Well, she's ready to go to the exhaust shop. Fired right up this morning. Left the battery on overnight. Didn't do that, you know, slow start, crank tie. Didn't do that. Got water in it. Still have to figure out what to do with that little vent purge line there. Right now I just got to run into the overflow tank. Seems to be running cool. It hasn't opened the thermostat yet. But I'll tell you, I do not like running this without having a oil pressure and a temperature gauge. So that's definitely going to be first on my list before I drive it. I mean, it'll sit here and run all day like this, but to get it up on the trailer and stuff, this will be just fine. Man, I gotta tell you, I'm excited. Well, took her for a drive, not very far down the road, and she blew up. Not sure what's wrong. Was running and then it wasn't. Well, actually I'm just completely full of crap. We're just going to get some exhaust put on this pig. Gonna get rid of that right there and put something else on there that is a little quieter, sounds a little better. Here I've got a couple of Flowmasters that I pulled off of a car a long time ago. Also have a possum who's not very happy. He's developed a taste for chicken, so he's lucky I don't just shoot him. He's gonna get relocated to the middle of nowhere. But we're gonna go get some exhaust on this pig. So let's crawl down here. I'll show you what the exhaust turned out looking like. Gotta fix that rust. nothing's in the rockers except for a spot there on the other side, but that bottom spot on the door, I'm gonna have to reskin it. Here's my exhaust. Pretty simple. Like I showed you, I use these old Flowmasters. Thankfully, they're not too loud and drony, but worked out great. There's tons of room. We just hooked onto the factory downpipe there, if you want to call it. Same thing over there, but it looks good. I like it. My favorite exhaust fan done it for me. Sounds pretty good too. I'll show you here shortly. So I picked this little fella up from Motion Raceworks, I think's the name of it. This is just, well, technically they call it a turbo oil feed for a turbocharged LS, but it can also be used for oil pressure gauges, which in this case it's going to be used for that. Comes with 2 plugs. This is going to be for my mechanical gauge that's on the dash. Cleaned it up. It'll thread into that one. And then I've got a real tall factory gauge sending unit, but probably won't put that one in there now because I think the sending unit is bad, but that's just going to screw in there. And this goes right on the side of the block by the oil filter on that little adapter where you would have oil cooler lines if you had like a 2500 HD truck or whatever. But these are cheap, easy. They don't come with a gasket for some reason, so you have to get that separate, but I'm gonna clean this up, put some pucky puck on the threads, put them in there, and then screw it onto the engine. That'll take care of my oil pressure gauge, and I'll show you what we're gonna do for the temp gauge next. So, here we go. Under the hood, I'm pretty much done. What's been done since the last time is not much in here. You'll recall, this was like way down here behind there, so I couldn't get a filter set up. I ordered a 45 degree 4-inch elbow, which basically, after I turned it up, fits perfectly like right here. My filter hasn't come in yet, so you'll see that before this episode's over, but that definitely got me a lot of clearance room. I should have plenty of room for an air filter. It's just a cone type, comes out to about here, so that should work okay. I'll show you how that works out, but other than that, in here everything is done, with the only exceptions basically being hooking the compressor up. Got to get a dryer for it. This little guy here for my bleed there, for now I've just got it run down in here into the antifreeze, and I'll probably leave it for a short period of time to make sure we get all the air out of it. So that you won't see completed in the video. Some guys cap it, some guys tee it in here, some guys put it in the radiator. Probably the best option would be the radiator. But anyways, that's a minor thing. Let's go in here. So I have my factory gauges, as you already know. I've got an adapter for the speedometer. The only thing I'm not hooking up right now is a factory oil pressure gauge, but I got that one. So more on that in a minute. But what I did with the temperature gauge, as you know, the LS has ports on the head. This back one is unused. So what you need there is a 1998 Pontiac Firebird sending unit. It's a 3-wire plug like this. I bought these both brand new. This is an AC Delco, you'll see in the parts. But what this is for that year only, maybe Firebird only, not 100% on that, but it's a 98 Firebird 3-wire. They make them that aren't 3-wire, so make sure you're getting the right one. But 2 of the wires, which you see here, are just taped off. Those go to the ECM, which I don't need because my ECM is utilizing the factory location with the factory harness. But the 3rd wire is tied into your green wire that goes up to your factory dash up there, and that basically reads the same ohm scale as your gauge. So this is what you need if you want your factory gauge to work, and it does work. I forget what the cutoff, the earlier G20s, G10s or whatever, I think around 78. Prior to that has a different gauge, a different ohm reading, but I think from like 78 up, the ohm scale for that gauge is the same as the 98 Firebird sending unit. That's the only option I could really come up with, because this is a straight thread, and there's no adapters that I know of. I'm sure there are some, but this is the easy fix. It's $20 sending unit, I think $30 for the harness. It's all you need to make your factory temp gauge work. So this van's an 82, so I can say for certain it works on it. You'll also see here on the back cylinders, this is just practically right up against the inside of that, and you see those marks right there in the center. Those are from the old carbureted V8 spark plug wires rubbing on that metal insulation. So to keep that from happening and potentially having a rub spot or a short, I bought these Design Engineering insulated, they're sewn deals. Now it comes in like a 3-foot length, so I just cut them to length. I didn't do the front ones because they're nowhere near anything. So this should keep me from having any shorting issues like I did have with the carbureted motor once or twice. We'll go down underneath and I'll show you what the deal is with the oil pressure. Alright, so down here you see that little aluminum block. That is a bolt-on part from Motion Raceworks. It's got two, I think it's 1/8 inch NPT threads, which I just threaded my mechanical sending unit sender into. So that comes up here and runs up, zip tied up, goes through my insulated spot in the firewall and up to this gauge. So we do have oil pressure. I'm not afraid of driving it on the road now. Another thing that I haven't, messed with at this point is the kick down for the Turbo 350. This being a drive-by-wire setup, there's nothing to connect that to. At some point in the future, I might maybe do some kind of a linkage assembly bolted to that. But for now, as rarely as I'm going to be trying to pass somebody, how hard is it really to just bump the gear shift lever, down one into third or second? It's not. And come to think of it, I don't remember any time ever actually passing anybody in this. It's just going to be a parts chaser. These wires here plug into the back of wherever it's at back there, the cigarette lighter and stuff that's in that. So I don't want to put this cover on yet. I want to kind of monitor the engine and see how everything goes. But we'll go ahead and fire it up and take her for a test run. Hopefully. I have not driven this on the street, so I'm not sure. I'm not gonna make no promises how that's gonna go. Here I sit in the captain's chair. Haven't put that one in yet. It's really hard to get this doghouse cover on or off. But I wanted to show you how she does on a cold start. Keep in mind, this is just the base tune that the guy put in it when he had the computer and harness at his place. So she's ice cold. I shouldn't call this cold start really because it's 80 degrees outside, but you get the picture. See what she does. This is so unusual for me because it used to be a pump, 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 pump like 38 times, start it, pump, 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 start it again, and then have to feather it out, keep it awake for about 5 minutes. But how she does on a cold start. I'll let it warm up a little bit and we'll take her for a spin. Well, here she is. I'm pretty happy with the Flowmasters. I was afraid they were going to be, real droney. I wasn't sure what series they were, but I sure is dirty. Anyways, got distracted. wish me luck. We'll find out together how this works. I mean, a lot of times when you do an LS swap or any other modern engine, you have to get in there and do a little fine tuning, the ECM, you know, mess with the tune, get it to, you know, idle better in gear or not die when you come up to a stoplight. This is an old school turbo 350, so it's not going to have the same computer controlled characteristics. Basically the computer has no idea what's going on with the transmission or with the load. So basically we set the tune up like it's a manual transmission. So we'll see if she'll go. It's one of my favorite project trucks there. Fuel gauge works. I'm wanting this week to start, you know, taking some trips to town, which isn't very far, but yeah, she gets warm quick in here. How much gas we got on board, so we're going to turn around up here pretty quick. Well, just finishing our turn here. Basically reverts into the road maneuver. Transmission shifts just a little late, but could be just because we don't have trans completely topped off and it's sat for 4 months. And I actually don't know that it's shifting late, it just sounds different. The engine's a lot louder as far as exhaust goes, so it is shifting nice and smoothly, so no concern there. Shouldn't be, I didn't change anything. Which is weird for me because before she got literally probably 5 miles a gallon. It was horrific. Seems to be running smooth. That could be famous last words. She can be real quiet with the cover on it. I cleaned the windshield real good. Some of my older videos I went on drives and you couldn't see nothing out the windshield, so I learned from that mistake. Wow, it's hot in here. Holy cow. It's like I'm sitting in the engine bay. I guess I am. My foot's about 6 inches from the exhaust pipe. Well, everything seems to be working just fine. I am definitely putting that cover on sooner than later, even if I just strap it and don't bolt it. Well, we're almost back to the house, so I'm going to go wipe the sweat off my face and monitor all the fluids, see how she does, let her sit and run for a few minutes. I'll bring you back shortly. We're on our first official going to town trip. Put the engine cover back on. Running down the road, it actually started running a little cooler. It's in the normal range, exactly where it was with the old motor. So super happy with it. It's not that loud with the buy some junk. Well, I reckon now, ooh, American flags, thumbs up. Anyways, I guess we are officially a going to town rig. I'm excited to get back to driving this thing. Well, this is my kind of strange looking air filter setup. Not sure what I think about it. Kind of looks goofy. I don't know though. I've seen a lot of stuff just like that on LS swaps before, but what I don't like about it is if this seal doesn't seal real well, guess where the water is gonna go. Anyways, it doesn't hit anything, doesn't hit the hood. So, may do something different later, I don't know. For now it works. Hey dudes, well, looks like we're finally done with this LS swap part of this process, and everything's gone well. I've had absolutely no drivability issues whatsoever. Idle's good, stops good, goes good, everything works, temperature's good, absolutely no problems. So, definitely going to put this in the win category. Probably just jinxed myself there, but anyways, I sure appreciate y'all following along. I know this has been kind of a lengthy series, but hopefully it's been at least mildly entertaining. It's taken way too long for, you know, work, life, stuff like that, waiting on parts, but it's all together now. So if you have a question concerning this swap, hit me up. You can email me. It's usually in video description, and in this video description there's going to be a complete parts list. So or just comment down on the little thing, you know, there where you can write stuff. So maybe in the future I'll put a 4L60E in it. I don't know. It's already pre-wired, like the ECM's already ready to go for that. For sure, eventually some type of paint job. I want to do something back here. Haven't decided. Help me figure it out. Should I do a vintage motorcycle shop or mobile mechanic type thing, or should I go with like a camper van, you know, like everybody was doing back in the day? I don't have any seats. This is just the passenger seat. What do you think? I mean, I'm torn between something that's, you know, functional that I can use carrying parts and all that, or the camping rig, or maybe a combination of both, you know, where I could have the center open up, maybe seats I can easily unbolt or whatever. Don't know. Help me figure that out. But anyways, I appreciate you guys, and stick around for the next stuff. Don't know what that's going to be yet, but there'll be something interesting. Or not. We'll find out.